What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another weather forecast here by Asian Weather Forecast. This is going to be another video here on Marco and Laura as they are continuing to possibly strengthen here and posing a big threat for the Gulf Coast, mainly actually Louisiana and the Mississippi region. We can possibly have two landfalls in the almost exact same region 2 days apart, and there's obviously the Fujiwara effect here possibly rising. Obviously, I'm not saying these storms will connect, but really monitoring some big threats for a portion of the Gulf Coast as we can be seeing two landfalls here not that far apart and almost for the same regions. Hurricane watches have been issued from Louisiana to Alabama for Marco, and tropical storm watches have been issued for Florida, Keys, and Bahamas for Laura. Not only that, Louisiana has now issued a state of emergency. I think Mississippi as well has issued a state of emergency. So this is actually getting quite serious as these can both be two very close hurricane landfalls for possibly Louisiana or even possibly Mississippi. Really monitoring that very close. They could be seeing some big storm surge, flooding, and all that to come. But we will see how time comes whether we will see one of these storms drift off into a different area or whether they both meet up in or they both make landfall in Louisiana here. So really watching that very closely here. Before we get to the video, please subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon and the like button. But without further ado, let's get in this tropical forecast. So guys, here's looking at the National Hurricane Center. This is actually the latest 8 p.m. Eastern advisory. It is actually current 8:13. So this is actually very accurate here. This is just the latest update here. And as you see, we do have now Laura still at 50 miles an hour. So it has increased 10 miles an hour since my first video today. So I did say this is definitely not 40 miles an hour. There it is at 50 miles an hour. So I did think that was a possibility, and there it is, 50 miles an hour, possibly. It actually avoided a Puerto Rico landfall, and now possibly going to be nearing a Dominican Republic landfall there, and this is actually going to bring some concerns for a lot of inland flooding there as well, landslides, and then expected to possibly like this, maybe into the Gulf near Louisiana. But as you see, there it is now at 1,004 millibars, and now moving west at 18 miles an hour. So hasn't really done much different. Marco's still at 65 miles an hour, but it is now, minimal center pressure has gone up at 994 because some shear is really getting to it, but it is still at 65 miles an hour and moving north-northwest at 13 miles an hour. So like I said, a lot of the models, a lot of the tracks, hurricane models, take these both to Louisiana, tracks, everything really. Marco expected to possibly make landfall right here, like that. And then Laura showing kind of going like this through like that. So we can have two landfalls there. Marco expected to make landfall on Monday, and then Laura expected to make landfall on Wednesday. So that could be two hurricane landfalls for not maybe the exact state. It may not be the exact state, but let's say very close. So that's going to really that's going to pile up on storm surge, pile up on rain totals, damage. This is actually going to be some pretty bad damage. Like Marco's only be like a category 1. So will Laura. Well, that means if you combine them, be like a category 2, really. But could be worse storm surge, really. I mean, Marco already is expected to be 3 to 5 foot storm surge. Let's say it strengthens more, and also we have Laura behind it. So this is honestly going to be very interesting, guys. This has not happened in a while where we've had two hurricane landfalls in the exact same state in like a 3-day time period. I mean, I don't think this has happened in a while. So this is actually really crazy. Obviously, people have talked about the potential that these can connect the Fujiwara or Fujiwara effect. I believe that's how you pronounce it. That this could these could both connect into a supercane. I don't think that's very likely, but obviously I think they're gonna get close enough to the point where one of these will affect the other's track. But we're just going to really wait and see how close these get. But let's check out now satellite imagery on both these tropical storms. So here, look now at tropical storm now Marco. As you see, it really has died down in convection a lot here. Has really opened up due to the shear, really trying to get to it. I mean, there's an impressive amount of shear here, but it is trying to survive. It hasn't weakened wind-wise, but it has kind of disorganized here, gone up to millibars here. But as you see here, definitely trying to find some big areas of convection here, having two specific areas right here. But really, it's not looking impressive. It's not looking major. I mean, it's just kind of losing its battle kind of to the shear. but we can see where it manages its way back. But on the other hand, Laura is looking mental. Look at this. Look at this convection. This is absolutely mental, this convection here. I mean, this is actually looks mental, this convection. I mean, this is absolutely crazy. I mean, listen to the low pressure kind of blowing up here. And it is nearing that landfall there for Dominican Republic. But like this shear has completely died off in that part of the storm. And it is really, really, really blowing up right here. I mean, that is a ton of convection. Let's actually check out now the visible high resolution, because I want to see this blow up of convection. That's absolutely mental. We're seeing some dark and hot pinks, which is not only is that pretty impressive, we have like a huge big blob of it, and just pinks all in one big blob. That is pretty impressive here. But as you see, it kind of started off. Look how organized this is, though. This is extremely organized. This is why I said this is not 40 miles an hour. There's absolutely no way. Look how organized, so circular, nice banding. But look at that convection blowing up right there. That's absolutely crazy before we get to night. But let's go check out now all the details on Marco, and then we'll take a look at the details on now Laura. But we're going to be checking out really the hurricane watches and tropical storm watches issue for the Gulf Coast, storm surge, the cone, and all of that for Marco. So here is the cone for the National Hurricane Center. As you see, they have removed the tropical storm warnings for Yucatan, but they maintain for portions of western Cuba, including the Havana area. As you see, those far eastern part of the kind of wind fields, kind of getting to inland areas of Cuba, seeing just around borderline tropical storm, tropical depression winds. As is expected to possibly be a hurricane as early as 1 a.m. As early as 1 a.m. tomorrow. So they are expecting to be a hurricane rather soon. Continue to really thrive Sunday, Monday, and they should be making landfall right there in the far southeastern island of Louisiana at 1 p.m. Monday. And that's actually when I start school, so I won't be able to make a video right when it makes landfall. But as you see, we have hurricane watches all the way from the central Louisiana coast up to portions of the Alabama coast. I mean, it's crazy that we already have hurricane watches out already. New Orleans, Hattiesburg, Gulfport. You guys are all under these hurricane watches. Now we also have tropical storm watches there for Mobile, Alabama, and also right on the border with Florida, the far western panhandle of Florida, not Pensacola, like the little island of Florida. And the far western panhandle, you guys are under a tropical storm watch, and I would not rule out the possibility of tropical storm watches going into Pensacola. But as you see, possibly a hurricane that maybe go over the area of New Orleans. So that's something to really keep in mind. I mean, maybe it could be a little bit stronger than expected and bring more effects for Louisiana. But I mean, you're probably thinking, hey, Adrian, what do you mean major effects for the Gulf Coast? Blah, blah, blah. It's only maybe a Category 1. I mean, they dealt with Katrina. Well, Katrina obviously was devastating, and they're still rebuilding some areas. But it's going to be 2 back-to-back hurricanes. Not as just back-to-back for the Gulf. It could be back-to-back for the exact same state. Meaning double the storm surge, double the rainfall totals. I mean, it's going to be crazy, but that's what we have so far. As you see there, let's take in detail, though. We have New Orleans there. Those other areas let's actually refresh. I believe we now have it for portions of Alabama. Okay, this is actually at 7 o'clock, so they didn't update their hurricane watches for Alabama. They didn't update the portions of Alabama. But as you see, hurricane watches at 7 o'clock, though, we had all the way from the central Louisiana coast to New Orleans, areas up here into the little parish areas, islands there, all the way up into the Mississippi coast. All of Mississippi coast, over 60% of Louisiana's coast is now under hurricane watch. And now we have tropical storm watch for areas near Mobile, Pensacola, just outside those tropical storm watches there. Some areas of inland Louisiana near the areas near Baton Rouge, you guys are under tropical storm watches. Hattiesburg, of course, under those hurricane watches. Definitely just a big concern here. But let's go and check out now the storm surge and why we have hurricane watches already. Because we can be seeing 3 to 5 foot storm surge from Grand Isle, Louisiana, up to Lake Borge, Alabama, Florida border. Even up to Mobile Bay, we can be seeing 3 to 5 foot storm surge. And this is going to be possibly making landfall near Grand Isle. The funniest thing, Isaias made landfall on Ocean Isle Beach. So it's funny how they both have Isle in it. And then from all the way from the Texas border, we could have 2 to 4 foot storm surge. So we're going to be seeing some big effects. But I think Louisiana could be the hardest hit state from both these storms, really. I mean, seems like Louisiana seems to be the target for both both tropical storms, soon to be hurricanes. But all the way from Texas border to Florida Panhandle, we can be seeing some big effects. I wouldn't doubt if it once it gets stronger, it can increase. But already 3 to 5 foot storm surge, that is very high. Imagine Laura. Laura could be stronger than Marco. I mean, Marco is said to be a Category 1. I mean, Laura had a chance to actually really thrive in the Eastern Gulf by the time it gets to Louisiana. I mean, Marco doesn't really have much time, kind of going just straight up to Louisiana now. But Laura has plenty time from all the way from Cuba up to Louisiana. So I think if you kind of look at the Laura and even Marco together, if they're both expected to possibly make landfall in this general area, storm surge could be double these totals. I mean, if you combine both these systems here. But then you see tropical storm Marco model and track intensity here. The tracks, as you see, we do have kind of have shifted more to the east. So as you see, Texas, you guys are basically out of the picture. I really like to say it, but Texas, you guys are out of the picture. But here is the cone now, really. Like I said, we even have models leaning toward a Alabama-Mississippi border, Alabama border landfall. Even Pensacola, we have one model. So I'm not going to say guarantee that Louisiana will be seeing 2 landfalls, but I think we can definitely see a very, very good chance for at least 1 landfall here in Louisiana. But most of them are heading toward the areas where Cristobal may landfall, kind of right here, the little islands here, kind of near Mississippi. That's where Cristobal may landfall. I think this could kind of do like a Cristobal where it makes landfall in the general area right here. So New Orleans, areas near Hattiesburg, Gulfport, Jackson, Mississippi, Baton Rouge. You guys can definitely see some big impacts, but really, I think we're going to kind of head like this. I think this is kind of the landfall we'll be seeing here with this storm. I think Marco definitely possibly going to be at either a Mississippi or Louisiana landfall. When I mean Mississippi, I mean like right here to the point where kind of like that. Not like Alabama border, but as you see, majority of the models are gearing or heading towards a Louisiana landfall. And like I said, Louisiana has issued a state of emergency. I believe Mississippi will, if not already has. But yeah, as you see, definitely a lot more has shifted to the central Gulf Coast. So Louisiana, Mississippi, or Alabama is basically the picture. But I think the top 2 states will be number 1, Louisiana, and number 2 for effects is Mississippi. So that's what we have there. Intensity. So intensity kind of has gone up a good bit. We do have more models getting this to possibly a strong Category 1. So as you see, a lot of the models get this to possibly being a hurricane less than the next 6 hours, and possibly being up to possibly 80 knots, which is 90 miles an hour, which is kind of that's actually what Hannah was. So that's actually just one update away from a Category 2. So really, it went from kind of like that borderline to now possibly like up to a strong Category 1. It's not like 1 or 2 to like 6 or 7, and we even have 2 models getting towards a Category 2. And then we have another couple of models that are showing this actually kind of staying, maybe strengthening up to 70 miles an hour, and then weakening. But I definitely see Marco being a hurricane, especially at the rate where it is right now, where it kind of almost really rapidly intensified, basically. But I just see a lot of models get this to Category 1 for sure, whether it's the next 6 hours to possibly the next 12 hours, but a lot show this being a hurricane here, a lot of models, which is actually a huge improvement. Let's check out now what we have for Laura. As you see, tropical storm warnings maintained here for portions of Cuba, Haiti, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. So we do have all the way from Cuba to Puerto Rico still under tropical storm warnings here for portions of the Caribbean there. And as you see, This wind field's getting a lot bigger. I mean, all of Puerto Rico as of 5 p.m. Saw tropical storm force was actually refreshed here, and this is now as of 8 o'clock. Okay, so now all of Cuba is under some type of tropical storm or tropical advice. It's actually update here, the 8 o'clock update. So as you see, yeah, nothing's really changed here. See, yeah, nothing's really changed with the 8 o'clock update for Marco. But as you see now, the Florida Keys in far southern Florida under tropical storm watches, and much of the Bahamas, including areas the Grand Bahama Islands under her tropical storm watches. But as you see, a lot of the Caribbean and a lot of the islands right here are definitely going to get some big effects, even as far as right here under tropical storm watches, because this could be a very big and large wind field, and it's expected to possibly go straight over Dominican Republic, straight over Cuba, and then going to have plenty of time to strengthen from this point on to there. As you see, it's making a landfall 49 hours later. As you see, we all saw that Marco showed 1 p.m. for Monday. This shows 2 p.m. for Wednesday, almost in the exact location, except it's going to actually get maybe bigger threat for the mouth near New Orleans. Also, we can't forget the Mississippi River. The Mississippi River is also, I believe, over, if not close to flood stage. And we cannot have that 2 hurricanes overflow, because that means more inland flooding. San Juan, as you see, Santo Domingo, Cockburn Town. This is actually the 5 o'clock update. There we go, 8 o'clock. As you see, from the all of Cuba is under some type of alert here, even from Havana up to the far eastern coast. But we have tropical storm warnings for much of eastern coast for Cuba. Then kind of the north and central coast, we have tropical storm watches, and then near Havana and that far western tip. So gonna be seeing effects here. All of Cuba's gonna be seeing effects from both these storms as well. All Puerto Rico under tropical storm warnings. Much of the Dominican Republic and Haiti coast. And now we have, obviously, tropical storm watches now for Florida, including the Keys, from Key Largo, Key West, just near the far southern Everglades, areas near the Big Island, the Grand Bahama Island, and Clarence Town there. Other Bahama Islands are now under tropical storm watches as well. Let's actually check out tracks now. So here's looking down at the tracks. As you see here, they are now leaning towards a Louisiana landfall. Like I said, both Laura and Marco heading toward the majority model, showing a Louisiana landfall right there into the kind of southeastern coast there. And also, we all see that kind of with Laura or with Marco, they kind of showed that far southeastern part. Here, it's kind of like not too far. So this is where all the models are showing for Marco. So I mean, this is going to be almost the exact general area, and this actually seems like Laura might be a bigger threat for the Mississippi River. Could be doing almost an exact Cristobal. Cristobal kind of went up like this. That's kind of what Cristobal did. But really crazy. I mean, as you see, kind of Florida, Miami, Homestead, the Keys. I mean, a lot of malls. Only one mall showed the key landfall. As you see, going to kind of go into Cuba and then go turn into Louisiana. So for both storms, the majority of malls show Louisiana landfall, which is kind of crazy. This is really at the point where if you're in Louisiana, you may need to consider, if you're in Mississippi or Louisiana, you may want to consider evacuating. I mean, you already are under a state of emergency, and your coast is filled with tropical storm watches and hurricane watches. So I'll just keep that in mind. But as you see, with Laura, it's expected to kind of stay at where it is right now for the next 48 hours because it will be over land, obviously, but expected to be a hurricane as early as the next 18 hours. I do not see that. The majority do see it showing this being a hurricane the next 60 to the next 72 hours. And I mean, that seems pretty reasonable here. It needs to obviously get past the land. And more models are getting this near Category 2. We all saw the maximum models that show Category 2 were 2. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have now 4 models getting this to Category 2. I mean, I think Category 2 definitely isn't out of the picture. But as you see, the majority, if you look at the majority show a strong Cat 1. And then the one gets us up to category 4, but we have 2 getting this category 3. So we're really monitoring. I think Laura will be stronger than Marco, but we just gotta really wait and see how much does this land really affect the storm. Let's check out now the HWRF, the new HWRF 18Z hurricane model on convection here for future convection for Laura. As you see here right now, kind of huge blow convection there for a portion of the Dominican Republic. As you see, kind of goes into Cuba the next 36 hours there and comes out in 66 hours. And that's kind of the time frame where more models get to category 1. As you see, it kind of, based on this, develops an eye in 78 hours heading for the Louisiana area. And look at that, heading straight for the areas of southeastern Louisiana and then makes landfall there. Laura, this is Laura, not Marco, right, kind of right here, but it kind of, that's 96 hours, so it's making landfall there. 96 hours, which is August 26th, and then kind of diminishes overland over the Mississippi River there. Let's go check out now what they have with the MSLP here. As you see, they do kind of show it really going down in pressure or up in pressure because of going over land, but they kind of show it kind of making kind of a quick mover over Cuba and then kind of slowing down. It goes from 992 to 979 in a matter of 3 hours. That's kind of crazy though. I don't think that's gonna really happen. But what HWRF shows is kind of mental though. As you see, 965 there, 953. There's the Louisiana coast. Look at this. 953, 940, 935, 934, 933. Shows it making landfall at a 933 hurricane. If you don't know what that means, that's a category 4, if not category 5 hurricane. That's a category 5 hurricane, basically pressure. And obviously, category 5 definitely out of the picture, really, but it's definitely out of the picture. But making landfall there, kind of right there in kind of the south central coast there at 933. Obviously, I don't think that's going to happen, though. Winds were going to be very well over 110 knots here based on this here. It's actually but crazy. I mean, this is kind of what hurricane ball shows, going to be crazy winds and then rapidly just falls apart over land. But let's actually check out what main global models show here. I mean, I think hurricane models are more accurate with the track, just on intensity. But let's see what GFS shows, shall we? So GFS shows now what we have now as Marco being 1,000 millibars in the next 18 hours. So definitely weakening. And then it shows as well what we have here with Laura, 1,003 millibars over Hispaniola, so kind of not weakening. And then look what we have here. GFS shows Marco making landfall at 1,000 millibars. I think it's going to be a lot stronger than that, pressure-wise. And then GFS shows a 959 millibar storm making landfall in south central Louisiana. I mean, that's kind of crazy there. A 959 storm. I mean, GFS, wow, you guys came out of nowhere. 957. Jeez, that is a 957 millibar hurricane. That's what GFS shows, and they usually underestimate storms. That's kind of crazy here. 957 millibar storm. That's at least a category 4. I mean, category 3, something like that. Check out 850. Look at that. That's what GFS showing. A big hurricane. That's going to be big effects as well for Baton Rouge, Alexandria, Monroe. A lot of Louisiana can see effects from this. Let's check out now what we have here for other models. Let's check out what the CMC has to say with these storms. So, as you see, we have the next 24 hours. As you see, 1,002 millibars in 24 hours for Marco, and 1,006 for Laura. As you see, CMC shows it making landfall. Marco making landfall there, where the track showed 1,002 millibars, and then CMC shows Laura making landfall in the far western panhandle at 996. Like I said, even for the panhandle, I wouldn't rule out the possibility. We can't guarantee 2 Louisiana landfalls. I think there's a very good chance Louisiana will get hit at least by 1, but we can't guarantee 2 Louisiana landfalls here. I feel like the Florida panhandle, Alabama, Mississippi, you guys are still there. So I will still be on the lookout. If you're anywhere from Panama City to Lake Charles, you guys could still have a chance to get hit by at least one of these storms. I would not rule out the possibility. As you see, though, Icon shows this making Marco making landfall very, very weak actually at 1,007 millibars near Pensacola, not near Pensacola, near Hattiesburg, and then shows it possibly going now to Texas at 976 millibar storm making landfall on the Texas and Louisiana border. I think that's kind of a little out of the way though. But guys, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and bye guys.